I watched a couple of movies recently, and I don't typically talk about movies, but these two movies really sparked some interesting thoughts in my mind about character and morality and all of that, and how things are not always as they seem. These two movies are really very, very interesting. The first one is the character on the surface doesn't look like what you would think. Okay, so the first one is called Molly's Game. This one is about a young woman who somehow gets into high stakes poker, and it's a true story, and she gets arrested and she gets involved with the cops. They want her to name names and all that.
I'm Molly Bloom. Do you know about me? This is a true story.
You ran games in LA for roughly 8 years?
Yeah.
And then you ran games in New York for roughly 2.
I haven't run a game in over 2 years, not to spoil the ending. But that's when the government raided my game and took all of my money, assuming all of it was made illegally, which it wasn't. In this room, you couldn't buy your win.
I'm all in.
You couldn't buy me, and you couldn't buy a seat at the table.
Movie stars, athletes, billionaires, that's just the tip of the iceberg. You're not taking percentage of the pot?
No.
Keep it that way because you don't want to break the law when you're breaking the law.
Am I breaking the law?
Not really.
We're able to find out for sure, aren't we? Laws are written down.
You had meetings in LA about your book and life rights.
I did.
You spent 8 years running the world's most exclusive, glamorous, and decadent man cave.
Any offers?
Guarantee the publishers certain elements, then I can get you $1.5 million.
What kind of elements? I passed.
I'm just curious as to why you passed on what would appear to be the only way out you have.
You have to use real names.
Creative differences. The law that I'm accused of breaking defines gambling as betting on games of chance.
Yes.
Poker isn't a game of chance. Poker is a game of skill.
Why does a young woman who, at 22, has a gold-plated resume, why does she run poker games?
Your risk is nuts. You're gonna get blown up.
You got 2.8 million on the street right now. That money should be in your hands.
Just how deep into the Russian mob were you? There's a new offer on the table. Complete immunity. We hand over the hard drive.
You've seen what's on those hard drives. Families, lives, careers will be ruined.
Why are you in this alone? Where are the people you're protecting by not telling the whole story?
It's not their names. I'm protecting Charlie. It's mine.
Tell me why!
Because it's all I have left. Because it's my name.
And then the other one is very, very interesting. It's a documentary called TICKLED. It looks like it's about a journalist who does light, trending kind of funny stories, and he hears about this competitive tickling competition, and so he starts to study that, or starts to, going to do a story on that. But he ends up following it into this complicated thing that ends up really coming up against some really sinister behavior and complete smear campaigns that are ruining people's lives.
Over a strange video online, I knew I'd found my next story.
CET, Competitive Endurance Tickling Group we got here.
Competitive endurance tickling. It was one of the strangest sports I'd seen. So I told Jane O'Brien Media I'd like to do an interview. Instead of getting a yes or no, I got this.
Association with a homosexual journalist is not something we will embrace. Shame on you, little gay Kiwis. Regards, Jane O'Brien Media.
It was hard to take the insult seriously, considering the sport did seem slightly... Get fun, it's tickling.
I was young at the time, didn't think nothing of it. And I was like, $2,000, that's gonna be cool.
I mean, imagine being a teenage boy. She would just keep sending them whatever they wanted.
She offered my one buddy a Chevy Cruze and $30,000. The money's endless.
This tickling empire is way bigger than we ever imagined.
They have tickle cells all over the U.S. They're everywhere.
And at some point, these boys say, I'm done. The thing that she hates the most was no.
Vimo and every other site you could imagine.
Sending emails to the high school that I coach at.
What do you think your mother's gonna think about it?
It was like a bomb went off.
Your phone number and your personal information are entirely known and subject to publication on the internet.
Oh, we've been spotted.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This guy seems to me to have been someone who was probably like picked on or something when he was a kid. And so his revenge is now he's behind the scenes, but he does these videos, offers to pay these young men who are poor a lot of money to make these videos. And then when they want to stop doing it or something, he basically smears them. He puts their real name, their real face, their information all over the internet, and makes them look like they're gay and humiliates them, and just, destroys people's lives, and seems to really get a lot of pleasure out of this. And so, and there's all these fake names, there's all these fake companies. What ends up getting him going on the thing, that realized there's more here than just this tickling competition, is that the person that gets word that he's going to be doing a story on it has this massive overreaction. And the reaction basically is because he's a gay reporter, so it's very much an anti-gay, a homophobic response, all about, saying really derogatory things about gay people, which seems to be, just protest too much. You know what I'm saying? It seemed a bit over the top. And then he was in New Zealand, and then 3 people from the United States show up in New Zealand to tell him there's really no story here. You should back off. There's nothing to report, which also just seemed a bit too much. So that's where he started figuring out there was more of a story here than you would think. So you don't know what to think, though. It's this crazy thing. You think, what is this? Is this real? But it is real. You don't know if you think, is it just somebody's fetish? What it seems to be, even more than the fetish, it seems to be the humiliation of these they're all athletic, they're all really athletic young men. It seems to me that the pleasure and the joy, the fetish is not the tickling, the fetish is humiliation of these young men, making them look like they're gay and then publicly humiliating them. And it's very, very, very interesting story. In the meantime, they get it all down to this one guy who happens to have been, he was currently a lawyer. In fact, he just died. He was a lawyer, but before that, his career was in being a principal of a high school, guidance counselor, something for teens. So very, very interesting that he's working with teens. He seemed very much like he was stuck in revenge mode or something, of like a scar from his childhood or his teenhood. He was an only child, very wealthy, super, super wealthy. He was living off of inheritance when the film was made. And the amount of money that he was spending on this whole enterprise was just outrageous. I mean, he has these like operations going on all over of them making these crazy films, but always in the poorest parts of, like, especially in the United States. They're all over the United States, but they're in like the poorest areas of the United States. So anyways, very interesting. So here's this guy. He's all hidden behind, he's got an upstanding looking family, successful lawyers, where his dad had a law firm, he was wealthy. And then he's a superintendent for public schools. Then he became a lawyer. And meanwhile, he has got this secret thing where he is responsible for destroying lives, just literally destroying numerous lives. And, it's just really crazy. Meanwhile, in the other film, there's this young woman who gets involved with this thing. It's real seedy, and there are a lot of seedy people that she gets involved with, but they're taking advantage of her. She ends up being someone who, it ends up being a morality tale. The whole film, it's not about high stakes poker. It's not about, that's sort of the backdrop of it. What it ends up being about is decency. It ends up being it's a film about decency. Basically runs these high-stake poker games, knows a lot of stories that magazines and stuff would just kill to have. She is personally involved, familiar with, friends with numerous celebrities, and knows the things that they're doing that they would hide from the public. And, she knows their secrets, but she refuses to name names. They take all of her money. When they finally figure this out, they seize her assets, somewhat illegally, it appears. They seize her assets and then, freeze her, make it impossible for her to survive, and then offer her a way out of naming names, and she refuses to do it. She was a really competitive skier, really hard. A strict dad was really hard on her. He was a psychologist, and she got injured finally, and that ended her skiing career, and she was going to head to law school. Her parents cut her off financially, and so she went to Los Angeles and just hung out with her friend, and that's how she got into the poker playing thing. And she was, really smart, ambitious woman who kind of started feeling like she could have a name for herself, have power over powerful men. Her dad really drove her hard. She had 2 brothers also who were very, very successful, younger brothers. One became a thoracic surgeon or something. The other one became a 2-time Olympic medal winner. She had this really competitive family, and it's just a very interesting thing. So it would be very easy to, on the surface, look at these two characters and get a completely different idea about them than you would think on the surface. Really affected by this kind of immediate knee-jerk response, the smear campaign, the thing that where they go off of societal norms instead of facts. So they really appeal to societal norms. So I just thought that to wrap this little video up, I would talk about the how we could identify one. Who's the sociopath? The one that's involved in high-stakes poker games, or the one that is a principal of a high school? You know, you can't do it that way. That's not how you're going to find out. The one who is involved with multi-million dollars in the wealthiest people in the world, or the one that is involved with tickling games. You can't always tell by things like that. Okay, so these go in no particular order. In fact, is that they're pathological liars. They just absolutely will lie about anything to anybody. They are a lie. They really are a lie, and nobody knows them. Nobody knows them. They have a different persona that they put forth for every single person, and it's custom made. Every person believes that they are someone different than every other person because they custom make who they are for the person they're appealing to. They make themselves like that person. They're really masterful at figuring out what you want, what you like, how you want to be perceived, and then they custom make themselves. They cater to your desires. They make sure that you are, in their eyes, who you want to be, and that they are like you. They make themselves like you. But it would go like this too. If they were pursuing you as a love interest, though, this would morph into you and me against the world. That's what it would morph into. And typically they would pick people who had some wounds, had some problems with rejection, perhaps from their families, things like that. They didn't have a really well-connected family. They had some childhood wounds, that kind of thing. And then they would say, I get you, I understand you, I'm the first one that, it's you and me against the world, that kind of thing. That would really appeal to a person that they would target. They're sensation seekers. Sociopaths are just, they're basically two things that are really motivating them in life. Boredom is one of them, and anger is the other. Boredom is for them just a huge problem. It's just something that they can't handle it at all. Most likely because they don't have an inner self, an inner life. So they just have to constantly be moving, thinking about other people, keeping busy, doing stuff like that, so that they can distract themselves from their empty inner life. And the other thing that really motivates them is anger / envy, pathological envy. And so, this is basically what runs their life. So what they'll do is they'll create lots of drama. The thing that will manifest into is arguments. And they love to argue. They love to have controversies with people. They also love to do risky behaviors, speeding in the car, driving drunk, using substances, just basically problematic behavior. It's problematic behavior. Another sign is that this problematic behavior has gone with them since they were young. They will have been some kind of problematic child or teenager. And this could be, depending on what family they grew up in, this could have been identified or not. With my ex-husband, they had such low standards. He was so okay. No, he was like the golden child no matter what he did. And the standards were so low, basically, it's like as long as he wasn't in jail, he was perfect. So, but, had he been in my family, for instance, he would have been considered a problem because he was, got low grades and kind of a bad boy. But just, he had problems with authority, problems with rules, problems with, doing the right thing and, following the rules that are laid out for everybody else. But he probably was pretty sneaky about it. So people didn't always know that he was defiant, that he was as defiant as he was, because he was always very good at, this is another one, reputation management, always very good at reputation management. That's always a very important thing for them. Another one is surface charm and glibness. If you know someone who is not, just won't ever go into any kind of serious conversation, makes jokes all the time, is, flippant, won't take your thoughts and feelings seriously, will, put, just, you can never ask them a question and get a solid answer. They're avoidant in what they'll talk about. They want to keep things very, very shallow. If you get frustrated by the fact that you don't really ever feel like you're connecting because they're just shallow, they make jokes. And even if you're someone who should be close to them, you get the sense that everybody is only as close as, like, a cocktail party acquaintance. No one can get any closer than that to them. Next one is egoism and grandiosity. This will come out in all kinds of different things. They brag. They have disdain for others. They might make really terrible racial slurs. They basically just show a disdain for others, a superiority to others. And this comes out in forms of jokes and things like that. And they can also really do it to you. This is something that my ex-husband did this terribly to our sons. Put them down in front of people, humiliated them. Next, they have shallow emotions. One of the reasons that they won't change is because they don't really feel bad about anything that they're doing. So the part of this too is empathy free. So empathy free is the next one. They don't have the problems of guilt, a conscience, putting themselves in your shoes, feeling your pain. They're not up against those problems. And so they're able to do things that are incredibly cruel, incredibly destructive, and feel nothing about it, feel no guilt at all. And they have absolutely no responsibility to anybody. So if this was the thing that just blew me away with my ex-husband smear campaign, was that here I had devoted my life to him. I had given him 10 of the best years of my life, blah, blah, blah. And then when I got sick, he had no sense of responsibility to me for what I had done for him. There was no, he just acted like he was entitled to it all, or he forgot that I even did it. I don't know what, but he felt no responsibility to me as his children's mother, as a person who loved him, as a person who'd been loyal and good to him for the last 10 years. I mean, all of the things that I was, he had no responsibility to me. It was like he was ready, he wanted out, and that was it. He was just going to take what he wanted to take. He was entitled, and that was it. It was just really crazy. And then the last one that I have on my list is that they're sadistic and they'll play mind games. And they all kind of play together. He definitely was sadistic. And so if you have someone who enjoys your pain, a person who loves you should be really uncomfortable when you're in pain. It should be hard for them to feel content and fine and happy when you're miserable. That should be a little bit of a problem for them. And if you're finding that it's not, you're finding not even more so that they are happy when they have been the ones to bring you down, that is definitely a huge red flag. Neurotypical people do not enjoy hurting other people. They do, and they get it especially if they're hurting people that are close to them. And this will make them really happy. You will notice their moods going up as your mood is going down. As they're destroying you, they will get happier and happier. It's very much a cat and mouse thing. They will play with you like the cat killing the mouse, and really get a rise out of it, really enjoy that. So that is to combat their boredom, that is to deal with their superiority, that's to do with all the many reasons that they can get away with doing that. And they will repeat these behaviors, they will not learn from mistakes. They're basically stuck in adolescence, they don't mature past adolescence. And these mistakes, they'll just repeatedly make them because they're working for them. That's basically some typical behaviors of sociopaths, and a couple of great films to go watch that I have watched recently. Both of these films just talk a lot about power, money, what our perceptions are, public humiliation, all those kinds of things. They're both about that. And what I just thought was interesting was that I had watched these two films based on the surface. The one who was the sociopath is not who you would think, and so it ends up that this school principal is a pretty dangerous guy, and this person who was running underground gambling is a pretty decent person. So I thought that was really complex and interesting. And so I just wanted to share that with you all. Okay, you guys, thanks so much. And please, please comment and give me a like, and make sure that you've subscribed. Any questions you want to ask, any suggestions you have for me, please do write them below. And if you've watched either of these films, please comment on the films, and I'm going to put some links to them in my description box. And yeah, so that's that. I will talk with you all really soon. Bye bye.